User roles and permissions. While user type permissions are related to the iSpec system, user roles are related to permissions within a tender or template. To access the User Role Manager, click the User Roles submenu under the Administration main menu. All of the user roles are listed in a tree structure. They are split into internal and vendor roles. There are 3 different types of roles for internal users: built-in approval, standard, and commercial access roles. Commercial access roles are highlighted red. For vendors there are typically vendor, third-party inspector and subcontractor roles. Third-party inspector and subcontractor roles are normally assigned to other vendors, after the tender has been awarded. Click on a role name to view the permissions for that particular role. Permissions are split into 2 sections, document type, and project permissions. For more detailed information for each permission, view the User Roles section, in the online help file. To create a new role, right-click the top node, then select, Add Role. The system will create a blank role with all permissions unchecked. First, each document type will need to have the permissions set. The document type permissions are as follows. Show permission will enable the user to see the document type in the tender or template document list. Add permission will let the user select the document type when creating a new document. Edit permission will allow the user to edit any document with that document type. Delete permission will let the user delete that document type from the tender or template document list. Approve permission will let the user approve any document with that document type, rather than only being able to submit for approval. Receive mail permission will allow the user to receive mail within the document type. Send mail permission will allow the user to send mail from that document type. And finally, action mail will allow the user to mark any message actioned in that document type. More granular permissions can be set by selecting which phase of the tender process to apply the permissions. Next, go through and apply the project permissions. The permissions that are highlighted red are related to commercial responses. Users can have multiple roles, so it's important for each role to only have the minimum permissions. If a particular user needs more access, they can be assigned additional roles, which will then combine the permissions. Roles can also be copied by clicking Create a Copy from the context menu. The role will then be copied and retain the same document type and project permissions as the original. This saves the administrator time if a role will have similar permissions, as the permissions that are not needed can be removed, rather than the need to create a new user role. Any role that has been created or copied can be deleted as long as it is not in use. Built-in approval roles cannot be deleted. Adding vendor roles is exactly the same process as internal users. Right-click the external user node, and click Add Role. Unlike the internal user, some of the document type phases are not available, and the vendor only has a limited set of project permissions. There is also an option to assign any role as the project owner role. If that role is selected as the project owner role, when a tender is created, the role will be assigned to the owner of the tender, and will be included in the project owner graphs in the dashboard. New or copied roles descriptions can be edited by clicking the pencil icon. The 2 reports at the top of the User Role Manager are the Role Document Permissions and the Role Tender Permissions reports. The Role Document Permissions report lists all of the document type permissions for every document type, and for every user role. The Role Tender Permissions report lists all of the project permissions for every user role. Both reports can be printed off or saved to PDF. After creating a user role, it will be listed as an optional role in the Role section of the Tender Overview screen. It will also be listed in the Advanced Role Manager. Select the role and it will be applied immediately. It can also be set as a default role from the User Manager. When a default role is set, the user will be assigned that role in a tender that is created in his own, or any other selected business unit or department.